Okay.
Welcome everybody. This is Reach Across Johnson County. We're the Bloom Where You're Planted series of our Rise Together series. I'm Erica Byers. I'm the coalition coordinator for Johnson County.
And I'm Gracie Gray. I'm another one of our coalition coordinators.
And we welcome you today. We're so glad you could make it. Please enjoy food. If you haven't already, fix yourself a plate while it's hot. And we are so glad that you could make it here today. We thank the East Cleveland Community Center for providing this lovely space. A lot of people don't even know about this as a resource, but they are wonderful. All the things that they're doing in the community to help our community. I believe there's going to be some flyers. If you're interested, they have youth things. They do a garden club twice a month.
Gardening class and kids programs, and we have a food distribution.
Yes, and the food distribution, including one that was on Saturday. I think they do those every now and then. To try to get people.
The fourth Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you haven't heard about them, please share about them because they are one of our great resources in our community. At 6 o'clock, we're going to have Sara Tynan, our wellness encourager and preacher, speak on keep going and keep growing. She's going to talk about her experiences and how you too can keep going and keep growing.
This is our first time bringing this to Cleburne, and so we're really excited to see all of y'all's amazing faces here tonight. We want to keep this coming, and so in August, we want you guys to be on the lookout for something coming. We'll have it one in Cleburne and probably one in Burleson, and it will be about mindful movement. And so we've got a little sign up here that talks about it. So if you have fun tonight and want to come back or just stay in the loop with what we do, like Erica said, we also do summer programs for Johnson County youth. Our focus is pretty much 6th grade to 12th grade. So if you've got kiddos or know some kiddos that fall into that age range, definitely get with us and they can join our program. Everything we do is free. We are funded by the state of Texas and a couple other grants that make stuff like this possible, just to bring people together and get to do fun things and just interact with each other and build that connection. So without further ado, Miss Sara.
Hi. Thank you all so much. Well, hi everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Like she said, my name is Sara Nicole. I'm a wellness encourager and a preacher, and just excited to share a little bit about my story and inspire and encourage some of y'all, hopefully. Just a little disclaimer that I have to give. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I cannot give medical advice. I'm just a gal sharing her story in hopes of giving some hope and encouragement to you all. So, I'm curious if anyone in here has ever taken a Zumba class. Yeah? Okay, regardless, if you've taken it or not, I want you to picture this. My friend, also named Sarah, and I went to our very first Zumba class. We had never taken Zumba before, which it's like an exercise class, but you dance the whole time. Okay, so it's a lot of fun. And so we're in this class, and we're sweating, we're having a great time, and I lean over and I look at my friend Sarah, and I was like, are you on drugs right now? Because you're acting weird and like happy and carefree. And she was like, no, I'm not on drugs. I am high from dopamine, that natural release of dopamine, which I had never heard of at that point. I had to look it up. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's a hormone that plays a crucial role in the brain and body, and it gives us this feeling of pleasure. It's like the reward hormone. And so she's over here having a great time, and her body, mine as well, was releasing this chemical called dopamine. And so we made this joke after that class, dopamine is dope. It's just kind of like this corny little joke. But I had a friend that made me a t-shirt that says dopamine is dope, because it's just funny to think about all the good things that exercising can do for you. But anyway, back to our class. We're having a great time, we're laughing. We keep going through the class. I'm starting to feel winded and fatigued because I was recovering from a respiratory infection. And so once again, I lean over to Sarah and I'm like, how much longer do you think class is gonna be? And I know the instructor didn't hear me say that. We were in the very back room. It was a packed class. The music was bumping. However, at that exact same moment, the little instructor pops on her little microphone and yells, "Keep going!" And I was like, okay, I will keep going. And we got through the class, And it was one of the best movement experiences of my life. I was sore for about 3 days afterwards, but it was one of those moments in my life that I was like, this changes things. Because now, whenever I'm having a moment where I'm feeling like I'm struggling and I want to give up, I have her voice in my head saying, keep going. And so that's my challenge for you guys today, is to keep going and keep growing. Jeremiah 29:11 is my life verse. I talk about it all the time. Anytime I do a speaking gig, I'm going to reference this because it's what keeps me going. It says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They're plans for peace, not for disaster, to give you a future that is filled with hope. And I know this is a super common, memorized, and quoted Bible verse, but it is so much more than a simple scripture to be framed in a hallway. You see, this verse is a seed planted deep within my soul. When I was little, my grandmother would speak this verse over me. She would write it in her journals, and before she passed, she wrote me a couple letters, and this verse was in it. And so I believe that she believed with all her heart that the Lord has big plans for me. And so now it's just in my bones, hearing it over and over and over. And so I can't sit back and not pursue the plans that God has for me. Whenever I am discouraged, I remember this verse. However, I am convinced that the enemy played some tricks in my mind and caused me to block out this scripture when I was experiencing what I call my dark years. All those times that I spent believing my life wasn't worthy to be lived, or the times that I took blades to my wrists, I must have forgotten these incredible words that were written for me, that were written for you. God has amazing plans. There is hope, and you have a future planned. So don't give up. Keep going. I was diagnosed with bipolar and insomnia when I was a preteen. I practiced self-harm from the time I was in middle school all the way through my college years. There was one afternoon when I felt tired of living the mess that I thought my life had become, and I decided to give up. So I grabbed the bottle of sleeping pills, the sleeping pills that were prescribed to me, but I planned to take the whole bottle. And at that very moment, a hallmate walked into my dorm room and stopped me from continuing. She made me call my mom, who then checked me into a mental institution where I got the help that I needed. I almost let my life wither away, but God wasn't finished growing me yet. After I was mentally stable, I made a decision to never let myself get to the point of rock bottom again. And when I finally came to a place where I felt fulfilled in life, I made a promise to myself to use my life to encourage others to keep going when times felt tough. Lisa Turkhurst is an author, and she says this: the person who thrives in life is not the one who never has their heart broken. It's the one who plants their brokenness in the rich soil of their faith and waits with anticipation to see what good thing God will grow next. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season and whose life does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Can anyone in here tell me what they think the word harvest means? Have y'all heard the word harvest used in, like, I don't know, gardening lingo, farming lingo? What does it mean? Someone tell me.
Bring in the fruits of your labor.
Okay, I heard multiple things that were all correct. Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I had to Google it. I've heard that word so much, in church they say, oh, your harvest, whatever. I had to look it up because I wasn't exactly sure. And what I found was a harvest is a season of reaping the rewards of what was planted and nurtured over time. Another great scripture, Galatians 6:9 says, let's not get tired of doing good, because in time we'll have a harvest if we don't give up. Healing and growth take time. Just like a harvest, you may not see the progress right away, but every small step matters. Keep growing, and in time, you'll reap the fruits of perseverance. Another great scripture that I like to use is, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the stream and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and it is not anxious in the year of drought, because it does not cease to bear fruit. I love going to retreats, and I went to a retreat about a month ago. My friend Christina, we went. It was called Bloom, funny enough, and it was all about flourishing, right? The lady that put on the event, she kept saying that she felt like she wanted to encourage women to flourish, which means more than just survive. And in our bags, we have these little cards. It's just a plain little card, and it just says Jeremiah 17:7-8. And I was like, that's so cool that was in my bag at the retreat while I was planning today's message for you guys. And so I've got a few of these at the end if y'all want to come grab one. They're there. It's just a sweet little reminder of what it's like to flourish. Okay, so we're going to talk about resilience. Studies show that resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It is about having strong roots. So whatever your roots are, maybe it's faith. Obviously, that's a big part of my roots, right? Faith, family, health, those are the things that keep me grounded. But maybe for you, it's a purpose or personal value that you have. However, any purpose, any roots that you have, those are going to help you stay steady in uncertain times. We created RISE, the mental health conference, back in 2021. And a couple years later, we made a transition and began to call it RISE Together. Because the fact is, you cannot rise alone. There is something so powerful about having a community around you. And so for me, in my story, you guys heard that my mother rescued me, right? And she still to this day keeps me accountable. But it also matters that I have a husband, a grandmother, and a best friend who will call me out, right? My best friend Bridget and I have conversations all the time of, hey, you seem like maybe you need to take a breath here. My mom's biggest thing she says to me all the time is, hey, let's take a breath. Nobody wants to be told to calm down, right? What happens when you're told to calm down? You go the opposite. But for some reason, when my mom looks at me and says, do you want to take a breath? It's so calming for me. So one of my biggest roots is my community. It's very important for me, and so I want to encourage you guys, when you're thinking about your roots, thinking about what's going to keep you grounded, think about what your community looks like for you. Okay, let's get practical. This is my favorite part of the speaking gig, where we get to feel like it's a workshop. We're going to kind of talk together and learn how we can keep growing. Healing is a journey, and it requires intentional actions. Okay, so we're gonna get practical in a second, but I wanna share with you a quote that my best friend Bridget, we FaceTime, we do these like video chats all the time. I don't know if y'all heard of Marco Polo, but we Marco Polo almost all day, every day. And so she's coming home from one of her yoga classes, and she's like, oh my gosh, the instructor said this thing that I have to tell you. And when she said it, I almost dropped the phone because I was like, where has this quote been all my life? Every time I do a speaking gig and someone comes up to me afterwards and they're like, I want to get better, I want to get better. This is the quote that I think changes everything. Because the change that you need is in the work that you're not doing. Is that not mind-blowing for you guys? Like, if I would have heard this when I was struggling so much with self-harm and with depression, thinking I couldn't dig myself out of this hole, it's because I wasn't doing specific work. And so we're going to talk about some of that work today. You've heard me talk about my faith. Scripture is so important to me. But there's something in your life that you're not doing. And so let's get practical, right? Let's talk about some of the small steps that you can take. Once you're out of survival mode, it's time to tend to your mental health garden. Maybe you're in a current season of struggle. That's okay. Don't give up. Whip out your toolkit. We talk about toolkits a lot in these conferences because part of being equipped is having the right tools. For today's purposes, your gardening bag, right? That's going to be our toolkit for the day. So what all is going to be in our gardening bag or our toolkit? These are going to be some simple steps that help you. If you're a note taker, feel free to grab your phone so you can jot some of this down because it's going to be super helpful. If you go home and you're like, man, I can't remember what Sara Nicole said, put it in your phone so you can reference it, okay? Because we're going to walk through this. And I want y'all to feel free to ask questions as we go through these next couple slides. Fair? This is a safe space. We're all here to grow together. All right, number one is small acts of self-care. This can look like reading something that's uplifting. Obviously for me it's scripture. Maybe for you it's a positive affirmation that you read over and over. Maybe it's a self-help book. There are so many amazing resources out there that you can read that's going to uplift you. Incorporate daily movement. You guys already heard me talk about Zumba. There's also amazing activities that you can do to move your body that don't feel like working out. I personally don't love a workout. But when I found that Zumba class, I was like, this is fun. When I go to a yoga class, I'm like, this is fun. So there's all kinds of activity that you can do. You're not just restricted to going to the gym and lifting weights. However, that is a great way to move your body. There's other things like going on a walk, getting fresh air. one of the most pivotal parts in my healing journey when I tried to take my life, I dropped out of college, I went to the mental institution, and then I moved in with my mom and dad. And my dad said something to me that impacted me forever. He was like, Sara Nicole, you're spending a lot of time on the couch. You're spending a lot of time in the bed. And he said it with all the love in the world. And then he took me to the BRIC, the Burleson Rec Center, and got me a membership, and then showed me how to use the weights. He showed me where the class schedule was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. Because when I began to move my body, I began to heal my mind. And so that's something I want to challenge you today, is to find a small act of self-care. Maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's going to the gym. Speaking of mindful movement, speaking of moving your body, if you haven't found the thing that works for you, you haven't found a way to move your body, we are going to be covering that topic at our Rise Social in August. Like the girl said earlier, we don't have a specific date or location, but if you scan the QR code, it just gives a little form where you can fill out your name and your contact information, and then we can send them info on when we have our deets locked in. So I will be talking about movement, I'll be talking a little bit about meditation, so make sure y'all have this on your radar for our next Rise event. I couldn't go on without talking about that since we just talked about movement. So now number 2 is to nourish your body. Choosing whole foods is going to give your body a better chance to heal. Cutting back on processed foods, caffeine, and alcohol. Don't cancel me. Don't come after me. I know sometimes when I talk about this, people are like, oh, no. I'm not giving up my after-work wine. I'm not giving up my cup of coffee. I'm not asking you to. I'm just sharing what has worked for me. So I'm currently 34 months, however much that is, sober. And it's been a game changer for me, not going to that glass of wine after work. Now I get a glass of magnesium. I still drink it out of a wine glass. It's just as fun. And then as far as the caffeine is concerned, if you struggle with anxiety, I just want to encourage you to consider how much caffeine you're taking in. For me personally, that was something that I felt convicted on. I was like, I'm anxious all the time. Well, how much caffeine am I consuming? So currently today, if I have a cup of coffee, it's just gonna be 1, or it's gonna be decaf. And I like to drink mushroom coffee because I'm weird, but mushroom coffee is not as intense on the caffeine scale. So people are like, ew, that's gross. I'm like, well, I don't wanna be anxious, and I wanna sleep at night. I could talk about sleep as well, but that's another topic for another day. But if you're affected by caffeine and it keeps you from sleeping at night, that's going to affect your mental health. There's this whole concept called the circadian rhythm, and it's this cycle, and if you're consuming a bunch of caffeine, it can be impacted by that. So, like I said, don't be mad at me. I'm speaking from a place of victory. I have seen improvements in my mental health by doing these things. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I still hit a Taco Bell about once a month. I still hit a Chick-fil-A about once a week, maybe twice a week this week, so thanks for that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with processed food. I'm just asking you to consider how much you're taking in and see what can happen to your body when you give it a better chance to heal. See what can happen to your mind when you focus on your bodily health. Okay, I will jump off that soapbox for now because our next topic is breathe and be present. This one is super simple. When you slow down your breathing and you're feeling overwhelmed, it's going to help. What did I tell you about my mom? She always looks at me when I'm acting kind of manic, or I get the zoomies. Have y'all ever had the zoomies? Where you feel like you got a bouncy ball in your head? If I get like that, both my mom and my best friend can look at me and be like, hey, do you want to take a breath? And I'm like, oh, I got the zoomies, don't I? But seriously, taking a breath is easy. It's not complicated. You don't have to have any kind of degree or certificate to know how to go. In fact, everyone stop what you're doing. Take a big breath into your nose. Open your mouth, sigh it out. Go. One more time. In and out. Don't you just feel lighter? That's because when you breathe in that way, you're getting more oxygen to your brain. So you can think clearer, you can feel better. So just take a breath. Some of you guys have heard me speak before on this topic, so I'll be brief. But when we were planning year 1 of Rise in 2021, it was a lot. I had never planned a conference before, and I had a lot going on. I was super, super stressed. I was super anxious, and the conference wrecked me, y'all. I literally walked out into the parking lot. I collapsed into my grandmother's arms, and I was just exhausted. And so the entire next year, preparing for year 2 of the Rise Mental Health Conference, I had been working with my therapist on some techniques. And one of the biggest game changers for me was the simplicity of breathing. She told me in between all of the times I was on stage or doing things at the conference to go to the bathroom, shut the door, and just breathe. Like literally just stop and say, I'm here, I'm present, I'm breathing in, and I'm breathing out. And I like to think year 2 of Rise was pretty good for me. I was pretty calm compared to the first year. So it made an impact. And so that's a challenge that I want to give you guys is just stop and breathe. We don't have time to do one of my favorite exercises for grounding, but if you want to write this down, it's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I do it at a lot of my workshops. We may do it in August, but you can Google it. It's just a great, simple exercise on grounding. So if you want to do that at home and then take a breath, that is how you can breathe and be present. Do we have questions on that so far? Super simple, breathing. We all know how to do it, right? Okay, let's move on to step number 4, which is to forgive yourself and others. Forgiveness is not about letting someone get away with what they've done. It's about transferring the responsibility for what happened to God. It's taking it off of you. When you forgive someone, it takes the pressure off. I'm a big believer in this little concept called the body keeps score. Has anyone read that book? Y'all should read it, it's so good. Your body holds on to stress and it manifests in your mind. So if you are holding on to a grudge with someone, I am challenging you right now to let it go. Okay, channel your inner Elsa, because there's something really powerful when you forgive others and even when you forgive yourself. Maybe you have done something to yourself. Maybe you practice self-harm for most of your life and you're like mad at yourself about it. Today's the day to let it go. Let go of the anger and forgive yourself, because when you hold on to that, it begins to fester and then it can create bigger problems in your life. So I'm just here to tell you, if you've been hurt deeply, you have to forgive daily. Is that a fair ask? Can we all agree to work towards forgiveness? I've never been one to hold on to grudges. I don't know why, but like if someone wrongs me and they say sorry, I'm like, okay, cool, let's be best friends again. And that's not necessarily healthy, but I will tell you not holding on to grudges makes me feel very light in life. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Next.
I think I have one question.
Absolutely.
Yes, the book that you named, what was the title?
Oh my gosh, how did I just forget? I just
The
said
Body
it.
Keeps
The
Score.
Body Keeps Score. It's by a German scientist, I believe, and was that the one that had the workbook with it?
Mhm.
Okay, it has a workbook with it, but it's super, super great. Seriously, if anyone is curious about mental health and the connection of physical health, I highly, highly recommend The Body Keeps the Score. A lot of therapists keep that on their shelves because it's essential to understand that our body actually does hold on to traumas. So if you have been through something as a child, abuse, molestation, like your body's gonna hold on to that. Gianna, did you have a question?
I was gonna say it was by Vessel, anyway, it doesn't show us all.
But it's German, right?
Huh?
It's German, right?
Yeah, Vessel something, but anyway, it was no way.
It's a great book. It's a thick one and it's kind of sciencey, but if you're curious like me, like I love learning about mental health, it's a great book. Any questions on that? Great question. Okay, number 5 is to seek support. Do not hesitate to get therapy, and I can already feel like the energy shift in the room. Some of y'all are already cringing because people don't like to talk about therapy for some reason. But when you talk with an unbiased professional, it can provide the clarity and comfort that you may need in your healing journey. And the fact is, there are all kinds of types of therapy, okay? There is psychotherapy, which is just like what you see in the movies where they're sitting on a couch and you're just talking. I mean, they don't always have a comfortable couch, but you can talk with an unbiased professional. And sometimes they just listen, sometimes they provide advice. There are cognitive behavioral therapists out there. There is somatic therapy, which is really in line with The Body Keeps the Score because they use your body, they use meditation. I love somatic therapy. Those are the types of therapy that I've personally experienced. My favorite is ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I've been doing that for 5 years now, and it makes a world of difference. And then the other one, Bridget's gonna tell us because I never remember what it's called.
It's eye movement, it's EMDR, and it's eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
That's a great form of therapy. I'm sure there's a bunch more that I just couldn't think of, but those are the ones that I see a lot in the mental health world, and that's another simple Google search, right? In fact, we have this really cool resource called Starting Point. You can scan the QR code. It is a community of resources. It is a website where you can literally enter, and it has AI technology, so fancy, and you just type in like what it is you're struggling with, and then it provides you with resources in your zip code area. It's really helpful, but one of the biggest reasons I think I get the cringe feeling when I talk about therapy is because people are like, well, that's not in my budget. And I understand, but I just want to ask you what you're prioritizing when you look at your budget. Also, if you have insurance, give them a ring, say, hey, is any mental health resource covered under my insurance? And they may give you answers. Also, going back to Starting Point, there are some free resources out there. There are some financial assistance resources out there. Also, we have things like this. I'm not saying this replaces your therapy by any means, but I think we can all agree that we're gonna leave here feeling a little bit more grown. So my recommendation is get therapy of some kind, maybe someone you know. There are pamphlets here as well, and we have them in 2 languages. So when I'm done, y'all can come up here and get resources, but that QR code is there for you to scan. Okay, any more thoughts or questions on therapy or support? Even the word therapy, we don't have to use the word therapy, we can just use the word support. Okay, get some sort of mental health support. Maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's just a counselor that your church provides, or somebody that you found on Google. Nothing wrong with that. Are we good? Okay, our last step in this growth journey is to be patient with yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but healing takes time, just like a garden takes time to grow. Give yourself grace and trust the process and bloom where you're planted. So by taking these small but consistent steps, this doesn't stop when you leave here today, okay? You are going to be planting seeds for a healthier and more fulfilling life. Keep going and trust that your harvest will come. If you are in a tough season right now, remember, plants don't grow overnight, and neither do we. Just because you can't see the growth doesn't mean it's not happening. Stay planted, stay rooted, keep going and keep growing, because his plans are good. So today, I want to encourage you guys to confidently cling to the promises that God has yet to fulfill in your life. You can hold on to hope, because he's promised that there are good plans for you. Remember what he told us in Jeremiah 29:11. Okay, for our final exercise, I want everybody up on their feet. Stand up. Okay, and everyone is going to repeat after me as loudly as you can. We're going to use our voices as a collective declaration, growing in strength like a forest of voices. Are you ready? Okay, repeating after me. I won't give up.
I won't give up.
I will keep waiting.
I will keep waiting.
I will keep trusting.
I will keep trusting.
I will keep growing.
I will keep growing.
I won't give up. I will keep going.
I won't give up. I will keep going.
Don't you feel so good? Thank you guys so much. Like I said, there's resources. I have scripture cards. We have these cards over here. There's pamphlets. There's my email address, my Instagram. The QR code takes you to my website. And if you guys have any questions at all, I'm here for you. And do y'all want to ask a couple questions? Maui?
I know I didn't plan this at all, but I'm a visual person. I like to visualize stuff. And if you will, visualize giant sequoias, giant redwoods. They grow hundreds and hundreds and they grow for hundreds of years in very little soil. And the reason